Oh, wow. Where do I start? So, you know what my name is. I am an adoptive mom. I am the caregiver of my 90-year-old dad who lives 3,000 miles away. I have my own business. I'm a speaker. I'm an author. I'm a stress management educator. And I'm married. So lots and lots of stress in my life because I love him. I do love him, but some days, I was a respiratory therapist for 20 years, right out of high school. I went into the medical field. It was just really an amazing, amazing career. I got to work in Canada, Saudi Arabia, United States. I've actually even flown on the trauma flight team for several years at Caroline's Medical Center. And then after that, I became a massage therapist. And now I've retired from that after 16 years. So, and I graduated high school. Did I tell you that when I was 10? So I'm really not that old. So, but now my purpose to serve is to teach people about stress awareness and help people lower their stress.
And just from what you're telling us about your experience, I can feel that you know what stress is.
Yes, on many levels, many levels. Unfortunately, but everything happens for a reason. So,
yeah. So Rita is an author, and before we continue our conversation, I wanted to read an excerpt out because I'm going to do the reading instead of giving my guest the honor of reading it. I'm going to do it. So here we go. It says, "Life can be overwhelming. We have so much information thrown at us on a daily basis. Emails, internet, TV programs, the latest and greatest news, discoveries, and fads. It just gets to be too much. I wanted to create a much more simplistic way to approach self-care. The answers to our questions do not need to be more complex in order to work. Rather, let's make life a little bit more easy, EASY. This book is about finding the simple things that you can slide effortlessly into your day without the added stress and anxiety of trying to squeeze in one more thing into your already busy schedule." And this is the premise of what Rita does. I mean, simple self-care. And I am putting up the book so everybody could see what it looks like. So, Rita, can you just tell us what inspired you to write this book?
I think there was a 10-year period that was very, very stressful. So new marriage, my husband and I went through 4 miscarriages. We were 3 years in the adoption system before we adopted 2 toddlers. And yes, you heard correctly, 2. We adopted sisters, 18 months and almost 4 at the same time. So, and they came with baggage. So they did have a first life. We called their first life, which wasn't very good. And so there was a lot of things that we had to deal with. And did I mention I was almost 46 at the time? So let's just say my husband and I had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. And thank God, really. They turned out they're just such a blessing. So there was a lot of stress, and I suffered. I deal with anxiety. I get overwhelmed. I've had depression in the past. And so it wasn't me anymore. It wasn't me and just my husband. I had these 2 little girls, and I really had to figure out, now, how can I start taking care of myself if I don't have a lot of time?
Right.
I used to go to the gym. I used to be a gym rat. But, when you've got little girls, you can't just go to the gym for 2 or 3 hours anymore. You've got other things, childcare, or you just can't. So I came up with, I took the self-care one step further and created the simple self-care, where simple self-care are things you can slide into your day. So before you get out of bed, then you would pull your knees to your chest just to stretch your back out a little bit. I have lower back issues. I had back surgery in my 20s. Mm-hmm. Just simple things like that. Stretch when you brush your teeth. And the whole premise is pick one thing, because I know in a lot of my workshops, I tell women, and it's usually women, I have some men too. It's like, well, pick one thing. And they're like, well, I'm going to do this and this and this and this. And it's like, well, that's 4. What happened to 1? Mm-hmm. So I'm just trying to help. I'm just trying to make everybody's lives a little simpler.
Rita, I really enjoy how authentic you are. I mean, she's a real person. And I know it sounds weird, but sometimes when you talk to people, you get the representative, you don't get the real person. And I feel every time I talk to you, I see the real person. And what that does is I'm able to relate to some of the things that you're going through. You mentioned anxiety, depression. How many of us experience those things but never admit to them? right? And this is when you know who you are and you're authentic about it, then you can help people in a better way because they can now relate to you.
Right. And it's, my workshops and when I talk, it's a non-judgment zone. And I know when I first became a mom with my 2 little girls, like it was stressful. And I thought, behind closed doors, everybody's, nobody yelled at their kids. Their kids did what you told them to do. I thought we were different. So as I started to open up and I heard all kinds of things, I'm like, whew, well, I feel better now. And I'm glad I said something. And then now, I started to build up my tribe or my my resources, and oh my gosh, can you believe they did this again? And then realizing what the girls were doing was normal kid stuff, not because they were adopted, right?
Right.
So that was good to know. There was nothing wrong with my children, So it was hard. It was.
There's a reason moms drink wine.
I eat chocolate. I don't like wine. I eat chocolate.
Actually, I don't drink wine very often. I used to, but I don't very often. But I definitely like chocolate. I like hot chocolate, actually. That's my go-to. When I get stressed out, I drink hot chocolate. Yeah. It's part of my simple self-care.
There we go. As long as it's just 1 mug and not like 3 mugs and a can of whipped cream, Yeah.
I won't admit to that.
Your secret's safe with me.
And everybody else listening out there.
Oh, yeah, right.
All right. So I know that you hold some events, you do some master classes. You are a speaker, and we're going to talk a little bit about your speaking afterwards. But what is your master class about?
So really, my master class is 6 one-hour sessions every other week. So over 12 weeks, we deep dive into stress. And so I have 3 main principles, which is stress awareness, stress education, and then the support piece, which is the simple self-care. So I connect the dots. I take all my participants on a journey, really. So you discover what your starting point is. Like, really, how stressed am I? Am I stressed? Because it's easy to say, oh, I'm fine. I'm dealing with that just fine. And then when I give you a little signs and symptoms of stress overload, there's 24 of them, and you check off 20, it's like, maybe you're not doing so great. Maybe, we need some help here. And then that's the awareness piece. And then the education piece is really understanding every time, what is a stress response, first of all? Like, what does that mean? And what exactly is my body doing when I'm stressed?
Right.
And understanding that over time, that high stress level is going to make me sick and it's going to cause health issues. And, and worse. I mean, worse.
Well, what kind of people attend your master class? Is it just for adults?
That's a really good question. Right now, I do. There's men and women, and they're busy. They're business owners.
Okay.
And right now, actually, it's interesting that you say that. This fall, I'll be teaching a master class for middle school kids at our church, which is going to be open to the public.
Yeah.
So I'm finding that I'm really getting kind of pulled into the youth. Yeah. So it's coming.
Yeah, I'm finding that a lot of young people need a way, especially in today's society, right, to deal with stress. A lot of young kids I know don't get a lot of exercise because they're really glued to the gaming and, the YouTubing. So whereas before you would go running or play some football to get some of that physical activity to help reduce the stress level, they might need additional tips. And that was one of the reasons I was asking that. High schoolers, middle schoolers. So
it's tough. I mean, it's really. I just shake my head when my girls and I, we have conversations about what they're dealing with in school, and I am blown away with all the stressors and added things that they're dealing with that I wasn't even on the horizon. Mind you, I was a kid a really long time ago, but still, like, things, it's like it was tough enough back then without without the phone and technology and all that stuff.
Yeah, the standards have definitely changed.
No, we did have phones back then. We just didn't have iPhones. I just wanted to clarify, I'm not that old.
They had phones, quote unquote, back then
on the wall.
But yeah, I feel like the standards have definitely changed for kids, but not just kids, also adults, because it trickles. It's the way our society is now set up. We are in a place where we have to give attention to so many different things at one time, or you own your business, you have to respond almost as if you should not sleep because somebody sent you a message, on social media for your business. They expect you to respond.
Right.
So, Rita, we want to change the conversation a little bit and talk about your speaking, because I know you're an amazing speaker.
Oh, thank you.
And I heard through the grapevine, and I'm not going to tell you where I heard it from, that you have some big things coming up, in the first quarter of this year in terms of your speaking. Do you want to share a little bit of that with us?
Yeah, I'm really excited. Thank you for asking about that. So 2 weeks today, I'll be in San Diego, and I'm being flown out there by for a national attorney conference for women. So far, there's 350 women that have signed up for it. So I'll be speaking how to keep stress from being your boss in front of all these attorneys. So it's going to be my goal and my challenge to break down a few walls of these women and kind of get them de-stressed. And so that's really exciting. So I'll be able to stay out there for 2 nights in San Diego. So that's my first really big thing. So that's cool.
I am so excited for you.
I'll be sending pictures. I'll be doing lots of pictures on Facebook.
So if you're wondering, well, how does simple self-care impact communities? Well, I'm going to pose that question to Rita. How does simple self-care, what you do, impact communities? You just spoke about speaking at a conference of attorneys. I mean, that's huge, right?
Right.
So,
well, I think if we don't take care of ourselves, then the signs and symptoms of stress, if uncontrolled stress, where we're going to get more irritable, we're going to make poor decisions, headaches, insomnia, all kinds of stuff. And it's going to make us really crabby people. Mm-hmm. And then we are going to be really crabby neighbors, and we're going to have really crabby communities. So I think it has to start with ourselves by taking better care of ourselves. When we feel better, we're able to smile more and be more helpful. Mm-hmm. And that promotes fellowship. That promotes, good Samaritan things, and really then healthy, close-knit communities.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's really on a really basic level that...
Yeah, and I'm going to say what you said, but in a different way, because what I'm hearing is, it's like building blocks of a community. And if each of us is that one unit, that one building block, and we take care of ourselves as that one unit, right? Together, we're creating a strong foundation. And it's very far-reaching because, not taking care of yourself, stress, when it's rampant, can impact your health, your health conditions, which would impact how much money you can earn, your household income, which could impact how much money you have to spend. It impacts your frame of mind, how you respond because you're under stress, right? What kind of judgment are you using? So those individual unit building blocks which make up a community, which is us, by the way, when you take care of yourself, you're making sure that that unit is strong, then that foundation is strong, then that community is strong. That's what I'm gleaning from what you're saying.
Absolutely. You said it much more eloquently than I did. I got a really good visual of this really strong foundation. But you're right. I mean, and I think typical of moms, right? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna, we put everyone else first. We put everyone else. But everybody relies on moms,
yes.
right? So if mom, and I tell my kids, I've got my crabby pants on, like, be nice to me, like, just don't sass me right now. If I'm irritable and I'm not able to take the best care of my children, then they're going to suffer. So. But it has to, I know it sounds counterintuitive, but you really have to take care of yourself first and fill your cup up before you can pour into other cups.
That is true. Well, I have a saying in my house, like, me and my kid can't get the flu at the same time. Because that means I don't get to feel better because I have to take care of him, right? That's just the perks of being a mom. Right. That's what comes with it. But, if that simple self-care comes in first, then maybe I wouldn't get the flu. Maybe my immune system wouldn't be so down.
Absolutely.
Right? And that way I can care for him.
Because that's one of the things that happens when you are stressed. You have immunosuppression. Means your immune system is not working as well as it should, and you will get sick.
Yeah. So now we're getting to some more of the good stuff. Rita, some tips. Do you have any tips you want to share with us today?
Well, one of my favorite ones, and I think it's very simple, and I'm starting to use this quite often when, did I mention my girls are now almost 13 and 15? I have 2 teenage girls. So there's a lot of attitude in our house, and it's very easy to get sucked into the attitude and then start this vicious circle of just, kind of fighting.
Right.
So I will stop, and I will take a deep breath, and I will wiggle my toes. And I know that sounds crazy. Yes, I said wiggle your toes, but wiggling your toes adds an extra thing for your brain to think about. So it allows your brain sort of to regroup, so your stress level's not up. Here, you bring it down a little bit, and when you do that, you're able to think better. I mean, I can go into the whole scientific reason why that happens, but maybe another day. So that's really one thing is deep breathing and just wiggling your toes, taking that minute just to regroup. Another one of my favorites actually is few extra steps. Mm-hmm. So I work out of the house, and we have 2 stories, and my office is upstairs. Even though there's a bathroom right next door to my office, I will walk downstairs every time I have to go to the bathroom or get a drink of water or get a cup of coffee or tea. And so even though you don't think that 50 extra steps is going to make a difference, but it does. You're moving. I'm not sitting in front of the computer all the time. I'm actually getting up and I'm moving. And so I take that, one step further, that if you work in an office, mm-hmm. or you're running errands and grocery shopping, park a little bit further away from the door so you get some extra steps. So those are 2 things, very, very easy, and movement's wonderful. Movement's really good for reducing your stress.
So I went to one of your workshops, and I just want to share that. The wiggling of the toes things, it sounds silly. It makes me laugh sometimes when I talk about it, but what it does, it brings you to the present. It centers you. Now you're only focusing on wiggling your toes, and that 1,000,001 ideas that's running through your head, which is kind of like my brain, kind of stops, right? And you're just focusing on wiggling your toes. And then you realize, well, I am 4 months in the future when this is where I need to be. And that's what it does. And it lowers your heart rate because now you can breathe. You're not hyperventilating because you didn't even realize you were breathing too fast because your head is going 5 million miles per minute. It definitely helps. I do this. I practice it. And I got that from Rita. So
awesome.
It works.
So, and that's, Nike was onto something. Nike was onto something when they said, just do it. So, mm-hmm. You can have as many tips as you want and tricks and all this. You can spend lots of money. But if you don't use it, you have to use it. Mm-hmm. So I've got some people that are setting, timers like every hour, a little timer, and they'll stop and they'll take 3 to 6 deep breaths, wiggle their toes, and then get on with their day. So, and it takes time to create a new habit. So you've got to keep doing it. Keep doing it.
Yep. So here's a challenge. Wiggle your toes for 21 days. Whenever you feel stressed, you feel out of sorts. Who's on this challenge with me? I don't know, but I hope everybody listening, because I'm going to do it. Whenever I start hyperventilating, breathing shallow, just starting to get stressed out for the next 21 days, I am going to focus on wiggling my toes. I hope everyone is on this challenge with me. All right, Rita. So if somebody wants to know a little bit more about what you do, your workshops, your master classes, maybe even get a hold of you for speaking engagement, where can they contact you?
My website is, what is it? Simpleselfcare.net. Hang on, I have to breathe and wiggle my toes. I'm all nervous.
I've done that.
So it's simpleselfcare.net. To email me, it's Rita, Rita, at simpleselfcare.net. There's you can fill out a form on my website. You can shoot me an email. I'm very user-friendly.
Yeah. Rita has some great programs, and I can tell you going to that workshop made a big difference because I left it learning and I took notes and I still have those notes that I look at. And again, that challenge, please go ahead, do that challenge. And if anybody wants, maybe you don't want to do a workshop, you don't have the time, she does have a book out that I read an excerpt from in the beginning of the show. It's called Simple Self-Care Saved Me by Rita Garnto. Where can people find this book?
It's on Amazon, so it can't be much easier than that. So
go into Amazon, just put in Simple Self-Care Saved Me, and in one way or another, it can make a difference in your life. Rita, it's a pleasure having you here today. I am so happy you could make it. I hope you had a great experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The information is golden. And as we go into our week, please don't forget to inspire, motivate, and educate, because together we're building communities, one business at a time.